This 2 at Lesson activity is in General Activities and focuses on creating tables. You can create tables using a variety of different programs using a digital whiteboard system. I'm going to show you the features in Notebook, Word, and Excel and compare them. So let's see how this works. I'm in Notebook, and this is one of the programs that we're going to be creating tables. In order to create a table, I'm going to click the Create Table button on the toolbar up here, and then choose maybe a 3x2 table, and that will create a table that's up here. In order to move it, I need to select from the bottom right, let's say, from outside of it, and go to the far corner, and then I'm able to click the top left square up there. That enables me to move it. I'm also able to change the size of it by clicking the size button on the bottom right, and I'm able to move that around to any spot that I want to. I can click into any spot and I can write a title using the keyboard in there. I can also change the background fill. And here, if I select a cell and I choose the Property tab over here, I can change the fill effects and change it from red to blue, let's say, and it changes the background fill color. I can also change the text color. So if I double click in here and highlight where it says text color, I can bring over the floating toolbar that comes up and change that from yellow to, let's say, green. When I click away from it, it has changed the text color from yellow to green. So I can change that also in a table. In a table, I can also create it so the text in there has a bullet. If I double click it, all I need to do is turn bullet on or off, and it will make that have a bullet. In here, it says to add a row or a column. I can click on the right mouse button on my pen tray and choose that particular cell. And I can add a row or a column, but the first thing I need to do is to highlight those cells. So I'm going to select this row or column, right mouse click, and select the drop down, and here it says to insert a column or delete a column. I can insert a column, and then I have a new column that's right here. I can also change how wide one of those cells are by moving it, and I can also change how high or how low each of those rows are. I can also highlight those cells, right mouse click on it, and select those cells, and I can delete that column, and it will get rid of that column. I can bring in text or pictures or handwritten notes. So if I pick up a pen and I write notes, and I put my pen down and I drag the word notes into that cell, it's going to replace what I had in there before with the object that I just put in. I can do the same also with pictures. In here it says align right. I can double click it and notice that it is aligned right or centered or left. It can be either one of those. So when I select it, it aligns it to that spot and then it aligns it. I can also right mouse click and put on a screen shade, but just for the cell, and it's called a cell shade. And when I select that one, it will put a shade directly on that one cell. This is a unique feature in Notebook that allows you to do that with those tables. When I click it, it shows what's in that cell. I also can input math symbols. Again, if I double click the text that's in there, and I'm going to bring my toolbar up here, I can put in symbols that are math symbols and select from a variety of math symbols. If I wanted to put a square root, I could put a square root directly in there. I'm going to click away. I can also wrap text within cells, and this automatically happens. I can change basically how thin or thick that is, and then when I click away, it will show that in the cell, but it automatically wraps it for the length of that cell. If I want to make it in one line, I will need to make the cell wider, and then it will stay within that one line. I can also modify some of those cell properties when I select it. I can change from here. I can also change the property of the text by changing it to bold, let's say, and we have bold over here. I can also change the fill effects like I showed you with the background fill and so forth. And then I can also change the line color. Now when I change the line color, this does not go for the one particular cell. If I change line style up here and I change this to green, it will change it to whichever green that I would like, and it will do it for the entire table. It will not do it for one cell. So those are some of the features of creating a table in Notebook. Let's see how that compares to tables in Word. So I'm going to select my attachments and open up a Word file that I have created that has comparing tables. In here, to create a table, I'll just select down here, and I'm going to select Insert and then Table, and it's the same type of situation. I can do a 3x2 table, and it will create a table just as easily. I can change the shading if I want to, so I can highlight the shading area up here, and I can go to the Home section up here and change the shading that's here to either a blue or any other color that I would like that's on the drop down. In addition, I can also highlight all of the cells in here and go to the design. In the design, I can select any of these others and it will change the whole theme to it, and I have a variety of themes that I can select from. So if I select one of the themes, it will change everything automatically, including changing the text that's in there from white to black in order to match correspondingly with the background that's on there. So again, I'm going to select everything and take it back to what it was at the beginning, which was this format. I can also change the borders, so I can highlight the borders over here. I'll go to my Home section up on the top, and I'm going to select the Border tab over here. I can select just to have any one of these that are already predetermined, or if I go to Borders and Shading, I can have complete customization in terms of what I want it to look like. So if I want a black border that is 6 points just to be on the bottom of that one cell, then I can click OK, and that's exactly what I have. Or I can highlight a range of cells, and then I can go to the I can do the same thing with all of those cells. So that's another way that I can change the borders. I can insert and delete rows and columns. If I have my cursor into this cell right here, I can click the right mouse button on my pen tray, and I can either insert columns to the left, columns to the right, rows above or rows below, or any number of specific cells that I want to. This has a lot more flexibility than the one in Notebook. But again, that's because this is the Word program and it allows you to do many things. So if I say insert columns to the right, I'll have a new set of columns to the right. I'm going to undo that by clicking the undo button up here. I can also split and merge cells. So in here, with the split and merge cells, I can go to Layout up here, and I can choose Split Cells. And then I can switch it into a number of columns or rows in terms of how many I want to divide that into. When I click OK, notice that I have two different cells that are here. I can also merge those cells by highlighting the two that I want and click Merge Cells, and it will merge them together. I can do that with any number of cells, not just two. I can change the margin and paragraph settings within a cell. So if I have this highlighted, or if I have my cursor within the cell, notice that up here I have all of my paragraph markers. So if I move the margin that goes on the right to about the middle of the cell, it will automatically make that margin where it needs to be. I can also change the first line indent, so it'll change the first line indent. So I can have all of those settings apply directly to it. I can also go to a section over here to align it to the top right or to the bottom right. I can change I can change how tall each of the cells are. I accidentally moved something, so I can move this cell down so I can change how high or how low it is. And I can change where the text winds up at, whether it's aligned left, right, top, middle, or bottom by clicking on the buttons up here in terms of the alignment. I can also change the size of the table on the icon on the bottom right. So when I click within the table, I have a small square on the bottom right. And when I select that, I can change the size of the whole table. I can also change the location of the table by clicking the top right button, and I'm able to move it to any place within the document that I want to. So those are some things that you can use in Word. Now let's move into the last program, which is Excel. So I'm going to go back into Notebook and choose my shortcut to go to Excel. And here it's already set as a spreadsheet, which is very similar to a table. So I'm not going to insert a table because it's basically set up as one. But again, just as the other Word program, other Office program, I can change the fill. I can also change the border. Let's make it a thick box border, and when I click away, I can tell that that's what it looks like. And here I can either wrap the text or not keep the text in one line. And this is different than the other two programs. So right now it is all staying in that one cell, but if I choose to not keep it wrapped, it's going to spill over into the next line. So I'm going to bring up the keyboard and click into cell D2 and just write the number 6, and then I'll hit enter. And notice that the text that is in C2 does not show. It says wrap text or not to keep text in, and it doesn't show that. If I want to read everything that's in there, I have to wrap the text in one line, and then it will be able to do that. So that's something that's different in Excel than it is in the other programs. I'll minimize my keyboard here. Another thing that's different are the formulas. You can put in just regular numbers, and here I have 13, and here I have 23, and in here I have the sum of whatever is in A4 and B4, and that will be the sum of it. You can do some advanced calculations in here. Although you can put in some formulas in Word tables, it's much easier to do so, and you have much more flexibility when you're doing the same in Excel. You can change the height and the width of each of the cells by simply selecting the whole row and then changing the height of it. Same thing with the width. You can select the whole column and then change the width of the column, and it will automatically wrap text if need be, if that's one of the attributes that you've set on there. You can also insert rows or columns. So I'm going to right mouse click and select, and I can insert table columns to the left or above. So if I choose above, then it will create a row above. And you can do the same with columns, and you can also delete them as need be. And it's very easy and expands the whole selection that's in there. And that is different than a notebook. When you add a new column or a row, it will not expand the rest of the table. You have to manually change them. In all Office programs, it automatically expands the size of the whole table, and enabling you to easily insert and delete rows and columns, and it will adjust everything automatically. So those are just some ways that you can use tables in Notebook and in Excel and in Word. Now it's time for you to get to it.